All right, welcome to episode 3 of Dids in the Dugout. I'm joined once again with my good buddy Hitch. On today's show, we're going to go over some preseason top 25. You had the coaches poll come out and the locked on top 25. Uh, and so, just for reference, we're going to be using locked on preseason top 25. I don't really care about the coaches poll that much, and I try to avoid it as much as possible. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with locked on preseason top 25, and then after we get done with that, we'll talk a little bit about the untold Johnny Manziel story. Me and Hitch both watched it today. We both thought it was pretty interesting, so figured we'd go ahead and talk about that a little bit today. So, but how you doing today, Hitch?
Good.
Good, good. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in then. Let's see. Like I said, we'll get into the locked on preseason football top 25. There's if I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw where this is the first preseason top 25 locked ons put on this year. Uh, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure Stephen Willis will reach out to me and let me know real quick that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that'll be absolutely fine. But I thought it was pretty interesting, though. Huge surprise here at number one. They really went out on a limb and named the Georgia Bulldogs number one team in the country again after back-to-back national
Pretty
champions.
shocked.
Right. I do think Georgia's an interesting team just because of the presumed quarterback battle going on in Athens right now. But I also Bleav that they are just so talented top to bottom that I'm not sure it's really going to matter who plays quarterback for them. So yeah, I have no problems with that. Now the next one is where I start questioning it, and not because I'm some you know football expert and know every team in the country's roster top to bottom, but I was kind of surprised Michigan came in at number two here. You know, Alabama, Ohio State, and even USC I thought were candidates for that number two spot along with Michigan. But I thought it was kind of interesting that Michigan was able to beat out those three teams, Ohio State and Alabama particularly, for that number two spot. If I had to guess, I would say probably Michigan winning the last two games against Ohio State in the regular season probably helped them out a little bit on that. And then the quarterback dilemma, if you want to call it that, in Alabama maybe kind of contributed to that too. So,
But Michigan, I watched them play a couple of times
yeah.
last year, and those two young guys they had playing quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why there's some excitement there.
Yeah. They're really good. And you got Blake Corum back at running back. It's whenever people talk about the best running backs in the country, you always hear them talk about Quinshon Judkins, Blake Corum, and Rocket Sanders from Arkansas. That's always your constant top three more times than not when you talk about running backs. And Michigan plays a super physical brand of football too. I actually really love watching Michigan play.
I really hate it.
Yeah. Well, me too. But
no, I'm serious.
It kind of reminds me of, which just won't be a surprise since Harbaugh coached there, but the San Francisco 49ers. It's a lot like that style of football that you've seen over the last decade or so out there in San Francisco. They just wear you down. They're physical. They're a really good team, really athletic, and they've really transformed their offense the last 2 or 3 years under Harbaugh. He's kind of gotten away from that ground and pound and just beat the fire out of you at the line of scrimmage and take it over in the fourth quarter, right? They've kind of expanded their offense a little bit, and it's kind of worked for them. So I don't have a problem with Michigan being there. They're going to be a very good team and a team that everybody needs to worry about outside of Georgia, obviously. So yeah, they're at number two, rounding out the top five: Ohio State, Alabama, USC. Uh, we've talked a little bit about Alabama already on this podcast. Ohio State has the best receiver in the entire country. I know you watched him play last year, Hitch. Marvin Harrison Jr. Me and you grew up watching his dad right in Indianapolis with Peyton Manning. He was incredible. His son is every bit as good. He is an absolute treat to watch. He is so much fun. And that offense always puts up big numbers, and I wouldn't expect anything less again this year. Do you have any problems with it being Ohio State, Alabama, then USC to round out the top five?
No, because this doesn't mean anything, right? To me, like I have always looked at preseason polls, like regardless of the sport.
Yeah,
and just been like,
Well, they don't matter.
Yeah, well, not I said
I
that.
mean, no, they really don't,
Yeah.
because we're going to end up playing 12 games here in the next couple months or 3 months that determine what this poll really looks like.
Yeah.
But it is fun to look at it going into
That's
the
what I was
season.
gonna
It's kind
say.
of an outlook.
That's what I was going to say. It's always been, I shouldn't have said it doesn't matter. It's always been more of
No,
a.
you should have said it,
I
because it
know-
doesn't.
Well, I don't mean it like that. What I mean is, it just, we don't know anything.
No,
right?
you don't.
Like, there's transfers, especially today's days.
Especially into that.
You've got transfers. You've got people that left early.
Mhm.
Who knows? There's so much up in the air.
Yeah,
And
there's never.
as we start talking
Yeah.
more about games and stuff, yeah, I feel much more comfortable doing a pick. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, obviously.
Exactly.
But this first week is very tough.
Well, it's a complete crapshoot. But yeah, you're exactly right. Now more than ever, it's with the turnover on rosters now, right? I mean, you would have a transfer here, transfer there, back in quote unquote the old days of college football before this portal and everything come about. And but more or less, you knew what a team was going to be going into the season. And you never knew exactly how well they would mesh, how well they would play. Things happen, injury, stuff like that. But now you don't really have any idea as far as a team construction goes, even for these big time programs that you're used to seeing at the top of these polls over and over again. So, and I think you made a good point about 3 to 4 weeks in, as far as gambling and betting on games, stuff like that, because it's going to be a total crapshoot going into it, because you don't know what a lot of these teams are going to look like because of all the turnover.
How are the new guys going to fit in?
Yeah, how are they going to fit in? I mean, are they even any good? Because a lot of them are making a jump in competition too, right? You see a lot of group of 5 going into Power 5, stuff like that.
Which is great.
Yeah,
Which is why I love the transfer portal,
it's great. It's it's a lot of fun.
Who were the 5 again?
The top 5.
Yeah.
All right, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, USC.
Just for comparison, I know you don't care.
No, go ahead.
The other one, the coaches poll was Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Ohio State, LSU.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there was a couple differences in there then. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump on 6 through 10 then, since you brought that up. Number 6, you have LSU. Number 7, Penn State. 8, Clemson. 9, Florida State. And 10, Washington. Of this group, I think LSU has a chance to be really, really good. And you're not going to call somebody underrated being preseason number 6,
No.
right? They're super talented. I think depth might be a question for them. Now, depth will not always be a question for them.
Preseason, or not underrated, number 6 in the
Country, yeah.
But the third team in the SEC.
In
right?
the SEC, right? Yeah, exactly. You've got 3 of the top 6 in the SEC.
Like,
It's
I think your description of underrated kind of fits.
yeah, and it's kind of dumb when you say it that way, right?
Yeah.
But then you get Penn State at 7. That gives you 3 Big Ten teams in the top 7. So you have 6 SEC and Big Ten teams in the top 7. If anybody's wondering where this whole conference realignment thing is, it's absolutely going to a Big 2, and that shows it to you right there, right? Like I don't think there's really any question. And quite frankly, we look all the way down at Washington at number 10. They're headed to the Big 10, right? So that's 4 of the top 10 there. Clemson and Florida State, those are 2 good football programs. A lot of people that I listen to and read stuff like that, they're really high on Florida State this year. I get it. I watched a good bit of them last year. Norvell did an incredible job.
It was there.
Yeah. They and you get LSU and Florida State there in week 1. Which I absolutely can't wait for. It's gonna be so much fun to see and to watch. But Clemson and Florida State have been the talk here this past week, because they're the ones talking about possibly trying to leave the ACC, right, and try to find them a home somewhere. Now, whether or not they do it, who knows? Everything's so up in the air with all this
There's only
conference
1 or 2
realignment
places.
stuff. I totally understand why they do want to find a place to go, though, because you look around with what the SEC and Big Ten schools are getting. The Big Ten keeps adding and adding and adding. They brought in Washington and Oregon to go with UCLA and USC. On top of a conference that's already the second best in the entire country. Now, I don't think anything they've done is good enough to push them ahead of the SEC. I do think they brought in 4 really good programs. Well, I think they brought in 3 really good programs. UCLA, I'm not too sold on it yet, but
especially with what the SEC not here yet, right?
yeah, exactly. Which none of this will take place until Texas and Oklahoma are in the SEC anyway. The SEC's kind of taking almost the less is more approach for now. Now we'll see how long they stay pat at 16 teams. I would expect at some point they'll expand, but I don't see that coming anytime soon. But yeah, just kind of recap.
They better go though. Either.
Well, no, not really, because we can just get to whoever the hell we want to because we're the SEC.
Yeah, I guess
we're going to get into this when we get to the Johnny Manziel thing, but the SEC has the mindset of Johnny Manziel without the results because we know we're better.
I guess I was looking at it from if you don't go get anybody else and the Big Ten's picking everybody off,
I get
right? And I don't know, maybe it's not a big deal for schools to make a move to a new conference. It feels like something that takes years to implement, and nobody would want to do that again immediately when the SEC gets ready for new teams.
Yeah, and you may be right. If Clemson and Florida State, I'm not sure those are 2 teams the SEC even has their eye on. But if they were to make a jump and try to go to the Big Ten or something like that, if you go to another conference, sign a new grant of rights, obviously it makes it a little more difficult, especially one of these ACC teams, because it looks like they're going to end up having to pay to get out of the grant of rights that runs through 2035 right now as it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a good point there. But I'm kind of sticking my chest out. SEC's best, and we'll get whoever we want to, and if we got to pay whatever we got to get them. If we want them that bad, we'll pay them. That's just the way we roll.
Know what to do.
Yeah, so
they don't need me to tell them.
Yeah. Suck it, Big Ten. All right, 11 through 15. You get the Texas Longhorns at 11, Utah at 12, Tennessee at 13, Notre Dame 14, and Oregon at 15. So you get
Tennessee was 10.
Yeah, I saw that. But you get another SEC team at 13, a future SEC team at 11, and then another Big Ten team here at 15. So I'm going to do some quick math here, just talking about future Big Ten and SEC, just so people understand why these 2 conferences are doing what they're doing. You've got 1, 2. Yeah. All right, so 4 in the SEC, 5 in the SEC with Texas, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 with the Big Ten. So you're talking about 10 of the top 15 from those 2 conferences right now. That's just insane.
But that's the story every year
in
every sport.
Yeah,
except maybe basketball. But there for a few years it was whatever. It's like it's so much more impressive than it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's 7 of the top 8 baseball teams are in the SEC. Next year it'll be 8 of the top 9. It's why it's crazy.
I totally get it. But again, this is another list of teams that.
Did you say Notre Dame in there anywhere in the top
15? 14, yeah. Texas is going to have to show me. You see it over and over and over again. Now, I'm not going to be the least bit surprised if they do end up being a potential top 10 type team this year. I was so impressed with Quinn Ewers last year. That Alabama game, I thought he was absolutely incredible. I think he is an absolute superstar in the making for them. Sarkisian's a great offensive mind. You can see what he does with him just last year, and then you get the whole off season, and he's a year older, you're stronger, wiser, all that stuff you see from year to year. Yeah, great hair. It's not as good as mine, but it's okay. So Texas, I could see them being a potential top 10 type team, especially playing in the Big 12 and not the SEC this year. That's not going to be the case next year, though, so they better buckle up. Utah, I think, is a really good team if they can get Cam Rising. Last I heard, he still hasn't been practicing for them due to an injury.
I watched him play a couple of years ago a few times.
Yeah,
he's a real dream killer.
Yeah, he's really good. They're going to be competing with USC for that top spot in the Pac-12. I would think. You see Oregon down there. Dan Lanning's done a hell of a job there after 1 year. He had a really good year last year. I think they're poised for another good one before they make the jump to the Big Ten. So this is another pretty good group here. Notre Dame, I thought, was interesting because they really struggled at the beginning of the year under this new coach, and then kind of turned it on a little bit. Freeman turned it around a little bit for them there, and they were able to finish strong, if I remember correctly.
I'm glad you brought them up because I just saw one of the worst things that I can see.
Okay, what's that?
It's that they got an upgraded quarterback with Hartman from Wake Forest.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he went there.
And so now that's implanted in my head. It's like, Notre Dame got a quarterback. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Give me a plus number. I dare you.
Right.
yeah. That's just what you needed. So, all right. Okay, 16 through 20. Northwestern Wildcats coming in at 16.
Wow.
That was a surprise for me too. I didn't expect to see them there. They've got a lot going on up there right now at Northwestern after firing Pat Fitzgerald with all the hazing allegations and everything else going on up there. So that's pretty interesting. And then you got North Carolina coming in at 17. I think this may be one team that may be a little bit underrated coming in at 17 just because of Drake May. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. When you have that kind of talent under center, you have a chance to win any game you play. Obviously, doesn't mean you're going to win every game you play. Yeah. But he is one of the top quarterbacks in the country. If it wasn't for Caleb Williams, he's probably the number one quarterback going into the draft, right? Super impressive kid, really talented. Matt Brown's done a really good job there with North Carolina. I wasn't real sure about that hire when they made it, but it's really worked out for them. And them coming in at 17, I think that's could be a little bit low for the Tar Heels of the ACC. What do you have on the Tar Heels? I know you watched them a little bit last year with Drake May too.
So frustrated.
Yeah, they were. But
outside of
Phil Longo's not there anymore. Phil Longo's not there anymore.
But even outside of like wagering, it's so frustrating. I think we talked about it last week with the Ole Miss team. It's so frustrating watching offense. Just click and then immediately have to go back out there.
Yeah, I know. I know you couldn't get a stop.
Did you say Northwestern?
Northwestern,
that's
number
that
16.
Can't be right.
I'm sitting here looking at it. Number 16, Northwestern Wildcats.
Kansas State Wildcats, maybe? Okay.
I mean, Kansas State makes a hell of a lot more sense than Northwestern does. But I'm sitting here looking at this because, I'm sitting here keep blinking my eyes thinking something's going to change. But
okay. Hey, I'm on board. Put them in the whatever bowl.
Yeah, they're not going to a bowl. They're not good.
Sounds like they are.
No, they were terrible last year, and they've got all this going on. There's no way this is right, but you know what? Look at this. Northwestern.
Yeah, hey, I'm all for it, man. I love it.
Yeah, I need to get a hold of somebody up at Locked On and start getting a message passed across here that this thing is just a little bit off, I think, because that doesn't make any sense. But we will go with Northwestern for now. Overrated. Book it. All right?
Under.
No, over. Under on the wins, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Your national runners up last year, the TCU Horned Frogs, coming in at number 18. I don't know what all they have coming back. They were obviously a really, really fun team to watch last year, though. I watched more TCU last year than I probably did in my entire life, just because it didn't matter how much they got down. Those guys fought. They didn't blow people out week after week after week. But man, you were in a damn dogfight with those guys last year, and
It
it was
was a
so
great
much fun to
storyline
watch.
to follow. Too.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. And again, they'll make it all the way to the national championship game. You know, they run into a buzzsaw like anybody that played Georgia did last year. But again, I think that's a really cool story though. So you know, we'll see what the Horned Frogs.
We'll see what the post Max Dugan era.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. See what comes of that. So this one I was a little surprised about, and not because I have any insight on whether or not they're any good or not. But we've got Oregon State coming in at number 19, and then the Wisconsin
Wow.
Badgers. I'm not usually around for those games.
I am.
Needless, well, yeah,
That's usually
that's when you're chasing.
well, that's what I was gonna say. That's either
That's either when you're chasing or you're trying to make a good night a great
yeah,
night. One of the two.
I was trying to give it a cool name like
Yeah.
prime time
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that, but the money hour, I don't know. But yeah, no, I've watched a lot of West Coast
Yeah,
football in my days.
and obviously Ole Miss gets a little Oregon State taste this year by getting Jan Griffin in. I saw where he was out practicing
But
a
Oregon
day or
State
so
was
ago.
Oregon State was the big transfer in the
Yeah.
quarterback Clemson.
Oh yeah, that's right. Ukulele.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to say it.
Yeah, well, you don't have to. I just did.
Thank you
Ukulele.
so much. How many times do you think that's ever happened?
What's that?
Where I've tried to say something and couldn't, and you've said it perfectly.
Oh, 150,000 at least. Yeah.
Probably.
Because whenever I see a name like that, like I sit here in my living room by myself and I just listen to broadcasters do it over and over
Oh,
again.
wow, that's so smart. But Blake and I had this conversation the other night about how if I see a word like that with a bunch of vowels in it,
Yeah.
I just give up. Like halfway through it. Like and she was
Somebody
like,
else do this.
Yeah, she was like, as you know, as you're not super smart, but as intelligent as a person as you are,
Yeah.
it blows my mind that you can't tell what people's names are.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to begin to pronounce that.
Okay, well, you go home tonight and you just pull up DJ Ukulele's name, put it in front of her, and say this,
All right.
and see what she comes up with. All right. So,
Yes, but that. I mean, that joking, but that's a big.
yeah.
That's a big transfer in.
If they can tap into that potential, because you saw what he could do if he could do it consistently.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be his problem.
Well, and that's the thing is Oregon State feels like less pressure, a little more wide open.
Yeah.
With their offense, right? They usually have pretty dynamic backs. So I'm kind of excited about this guy coming in. But
and he was third string for him.
yeah,
You
so
know?
it's going to be an interesting developing.
Yeah.
story
I mean,
there.
I think it'll be very interesting to see if I can somehow stay up that late to watch them this year.
It would be a really fun atmosphere toward them and Oregon.
Yeah.
Coming up with something playful.
Yeah, it would, and potentially the last year of the Civil War this year, right, with Oregon and Oregon State. So yeah, we're gonna figure out a weekend this year, and what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna come over to your house. That way, I stay up late enough for some Pac-12 after dark, and we'll see what we get. Number 20, I think, is one of the more interesting teams in the country because of all the turnover and what seems to be, I don't know if you want to call it changing of philosophy. It's probably the biggest change of philosophy in recent memory for me. Wisconsin going out and hiring Luke Fickell, right? But then going and getting Phil Longo to run that offense when all I've known my entire life is for them to line up and run the ball over and over and over again. And they're just going to be the super physical, beat you to death for 4 quarters. And you just got to hope to survive by the end of it. And they were always so good at it.
I think you just sang the Nelly Tim McGraw song.
I don't know. I don't know anything about
It was
Nelly,
beautiful.
man. I doubt if it was Nelly,
Yeah,
Tim
this
McGraw
is a
probably
shock.
wasn't too beautiful, if I had to guess. But-
Oh wow! And the SMU transfer Tanner Mordecai.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Mhm. I'm telling you, man, it could be a really, really good team if they can figure out a way to get these things to click.
I was gonna say if Phil Longo finds a team that can play defense,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I know. I mean, it could be a really, really fun team. So that's one I'm really interested in seeing. I will go ahead and tell you right now that probably to start the year, and it might come up and bite me. We'll see. Um, Wisconsin overs, because I have a feeling people are just going to be stuck in that old routine of that grinded out style that they always played, and that's not what you're going to get here with the Badgers this year.
well, that I mean, if we know anything about Phil Longo, he has nothing to do with defense, but bad defenses follow him.
Well, and a lot of it is because he can't keep his offense on the field because he either scores too quick or they're throwing picks. One of the two.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, true.
All right. So 21 through 25, we are littered with SEC and future SEC teams here. Number 21, our Ole Miss Rebels coming in. Vastly underrated, obviously. What are these people thinking? Surely my man Steven did something to bump them up here. There's no way he rated them this low. I know how Steven feels about this team. He expects big things from the Rebels.
Yeah, and he must not know about transfer Bryson Sanders coming in. Right?
Bryson Sanders, yeah, that big time quarterback. Spencer Sanders, everybody. You know, I didn't have the heart to call Hitch out last week on the podcast, and he looked at me after we're done. And he was like, "Who is Bryson Sanders?" I said, "Dude, I don't know." I said, "But we got a Spencer Sanders."
Yeah, I said it. Was like, I don't know.
Yeah. So, but Ole Miss coming in at 21, I think that's obviously another team that can make a huge jump up. You know, but I understand why we're ranked here because we have so much turnover, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. New coordinator, new scheme, all that. A lot of learning and a lot of you know, coaching's got to go on to instill this particular scheme here on the defensive side of the ball.
And a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like
So heck of a lot of unknowns.
Right, there's one.
There's a lot, but yeah,
I'm sorry. There's one known.
Oh yeah.
Right.
There is one known for sure, and that's
kind of
who's
the
starting at running back.
And kind of the rest of it is all right.
Well, we'll see,
The
right?
pieces are there.
Yeah. I mean, you got a bunch of pieces. You know, we talked last week. You know, you got your tackles coming back. You got Warren at center, James coming back at guard. I think offensive line's going to be really good. I think we got pieces at receiver to be good with Dart or Sanders, whoever wins the competition. I'm still holding to my guns here. I feel really good. It's going to be Dart. But it's on the defensive side of the ball now. If that defense plays and we give up, say this is a defense that ends up being top 50, top 40 in the country, giving up 23, 24 points a game. Well, now all of a sudden you're talking about an Ole Miss team with this offense, and you're looking at potentially winning 9 or 10 games, I think, with that kind of defense. But the schedule's just so brutal, though. Like that's kind of why you're putting a cap at 9 or 10, or that's why I'm putting a cap at 9 or 10. People can disagree with me all they want to, but I think things have to go really, really well and almost perfect to get into to 10-2 this year, just because there's not a lot of breaks there in the schedule.
Not at all. Like there's a team. I don't know if they're on the locked on poll. I'm not looking at it. You are, but in the AP, Tulane, is right behind Ole Miss.
Yeah,
Ole Miss is 22, Tulane's 23.
Yeah, in the coaches poll.
And man, when we were talking about the schedules last week, and it didn't really hit me at the time, but the more I thought about it, I was like, why are we going to Tulane?
I know,
Why?
It's a terrible.
All right. You know,
but you know, you do it a lot for the fans too.
I love
you
it. Like, like it doesn't make any sense from I want to keep my record as perfect as can be forever, but it makes a ton of sense.
Which, in all fairness, when we scheduled this Tulane game, they were not the Tulane they are now. They were not very good.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
You know, and it was
I
more
didn't
of
even think about that.
Yeah, it's more of a trip for the fans. Get down to New Orleans, big fans down through there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, a lot of Rebels down in that area too. So
I love playing. I don't love watching us play Central Arkansas. Right?
Mercer,
right?
Hate it.
You know, I know why we do. But I would much rather watch a non-conference Ole Miss versus Tulane.
Yeah. I would too. So really no issues there. But Ole Miss at 21, a team I think can make a big jump. Obviously, I'm sure y'all aren't surprised to hear that with us being big Ole Miss fans. But 22, future SEC member, the Oklahoma Sooners. I think this is a really big year for them, Hitch. You've got our old buddy Jeff Lebby over there running the offense for Oklahoma, and they were a little disappointing last year. Brent Venables has a little bit to prove there in Norman. Obviously a rich football history there, and they're not going to deal with losing very well if it continues like it did last year. What were they? Were they 8-4 last year? Is that right? Something like that.
They played close towards the end.
Yeah,
I think it was something crazy, like the last 4 games were only by like 3 points or something. They got a lot of transfers in on defense.
Yeah.
I remember week 1 to whatever last year, and like watching Dylan Gabriel from Central Florida 2 years ago and Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma last year. Like I don't know if he's left-handed anymore.
Yeah.
He might throw with his
he
right
might
hand.
be right-handed now. Yeah. It was definitely different. That's one game, and I know we're talking about 2023 right now.
No, I think you're being super generous with that 8-4. I think they had a losing record.
Oh no, surely not. I don't think they had a losing record. I was going to say 7-5, and thought maybe I was a little bit.
I want to say 5-7.
I'm about to find out.
I'm
Now
right
I'm
here.
interested.
6-7. Yeah, it'd be 6-7.
I got it right here. Let me see here. Bringing it up. 6-7, 3-6.
Yeah,
Holy
like they
shit.
didn't make.
They were so bad. Yeah, you're
They were
right.
bad.
I was going to say 7-5, and I thought, well, maybe they weren't that bad. But wow, yeah, they were really bad. Losses to
They couldn't
West
stop anybody
Virginia,
for a while.
Texas Tech, lost to Baylor. Texas beat them 49-0.
There was one game, where they got beat by somebody they absolutely shouldn't have, and they couldn't. Was it not the game that you did the money line, the plus money line? Or
Oh no, that wasn't it.
all right, yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but no, that was another team there.
I thought it was somebody they just couldn't stop. Like
Yeah.
they would score, they could stop.
Yeah, you're thinking about when I went in on the Georgia State money line
That's
against who was that last year? Good team though.
Yeah.
It was a good team. They were huge underdogs. Anyway, but yeah, they're at 22. Number 23, you get Texas Tech, Iowa at 24, Texas A&M at 25.
I mean, I was missing from the AP. But other than that,
The coaches poll.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Iowa, they were so inept on offense. I'm not sure how you can get them in the top 25. But their defense was so stinking good. They were unbelievable on defense. Maybe the best in the country. If they had any offense whatsoever to back them up, they would have been a really good team.
Yeah, there were some totals last year for
Yeah.
Iowa that were in the 30s.
Low 30s. As a matter of fact, the Iowa State kicker bet the under at 31.5 when the Iowa State kicker, when Iowa and Iowa State played each other last year, he bet the under on the game.
And just was able to do that? Like,
No, he's
he
in a
got
lot of trouble
Oh,
now.
okay.
He's in a lot of trouble now. Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah. A&M, a team that could make a big jump or could fall out totally. Super talented team, obviously. I just don't know what to make about what's going on in College Station. I'm not a Jimbo Fisher believer. If he lets Petrino take over that offense, I think they will be absolutely dynamic.
Did any of that big class that they had last year? Did any of the guys leave, or are they?
Oh yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. They definitely have some defections from that one. But again, that's just kind of part of it. I'm going to ask you a couple questions here, Hitch. I'm going to get outside the top five. Since this is broke down in groups of five, I want you to list one team you think might be able to make a jump into the top. Well, we'll say into the top five. Obviously, not all of them will be right because everybody's not going to make a jump into the top five, but maybe somebody that you're looking at. I'll start with the 6 through 10. You got LSU, Penn State, Clemson, Florida State, and Washington. Anybody jump out to you there?
The easy one there is LSU.
Right. Yeah.
And that's probably my answer.
Mm-hmm.
But the team that jumps out to me there is Florida State.
Yeah. See, I'm right there with you.
It at times last year it looked like they had it was coming back.
Yeah.
Like from when we were kids.
Yeah.
From when I was a kid. I don't know. You may not even remember.
Oh no, I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
But
the Chris Winkie and Peter Ward days.
Man, Chris Winkie was 30 years old. But
he was legit 27 going into the draft. I think.
100%. Yeah. But yeah, that's the team that stands out.
Okay. I 100% agree. If I had to pick one or two, it would have been LSU, one, Florida State, two there.
And I just realized this. They played each other.
Yeah, week one. Week one. Yeah,
Um,
it's going to be so much fun.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you we're getting together for that game too,
For sure.
because that's going to be a
That's
big
week
time.
one, not week negative.
No. Week one.
0.
Week one. Yeah. Not week 0. That's headlined by the powerhouse Vanderbilt Commodores and Hawaii Fighting Rainbows.
Hey, and I tell you what, since I'm kind of thinking schedules, if we want to talk the other way, Clemson kind of jumps out as, they've got to test their first game with Duke.
Yeah. It's not going to be
They've been bad, feels like, but I don't know.
But they haven't really been
11-3.
that bad. They've been bad relative to where they were the
Sure.
previous couple years, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, still super talented. They've got a bunch of dudes on that team.
For sure.
They're going to be okay, right? And not that I think they can make a big jump into that top 5 playoff pushing thing. Washington's going to be a good team too, though. Michael Penix, incredible at quarterback.
He's back. Okay.
Yeah, he's back. He's back. Going to be a really good team.
6 through 10.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough. No surprise we can pick out several teams in 6 through 10 that might be able to make a jump. That means you're pretty good.
And multiple players from those teams.
Yeah. So, all right, now let's get to the 11 through 15. Just give me one team here: Texas, Utah, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Oregon.
Oh, I've already said it. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Sam Hartman.
Okay, Sam Hartman. You're all in on Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, who has? I almost just said something stupid. I think Brady Quinn. After him at Notre Dame.
What was that fool's name just a few years ago?
I know who. Golson. Was that
Golson? Well, that was one, and then you had the kid that got drafted by Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Yeah,
No,
Aaron Rodgers.
not Aaron Rodgers. That's not.
But
him.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Then.
Yeah.
The answer to my question is no. It was, have they had anybody really since Brady Quinn?
Yeah.
And before I asked, I was like, I think they have some.
Mm-hmm.
But it's exciting for a team like Notre Dame to have a gunslinger like that.
Yeah.
Now they're going to have to protect him because he can't move.
I had completely forgot he had gone to Notre Dame. You said something earlier in the show, and that it kind of flipped the switch a little bit for me, thinking, well, they might actually have something.
Yeah. So the one down on him, or this move, is they're going to have to block for him. He can't move.
Mm-hmm.
If you watched any Wake Forest last year, he's very catch it, drop, step, 2-step, drop, let it go.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they'll have to get open.
Yeah.
What about you?
If I had to pick one team, I think I'll go with Oregon here. They get Bo Nix back. He had a really good year last year, right?
He's been in college football
forever.
He's like Auburn had that kicker, David Duval.
Well, he's basically Chris Winkie now since we brought that up earlier.
Is he? Is this his
this is it for him. Yeah,
Man,
last year of eligibility finally.
I hate him, but I was happy for him. I was happy he had.
I absolutely was because I
because
know
he
he went through
takes
some
some
shit
beats.
at Auburn, man.
He
He
would
did.
take some
He
beats
did.
about Kansas. So good for that kid.
Yeah, good for him. But Oregon playing that Pac-12 schedule, you do have to deal with USC, Washington, Utah, another team in this top 15 that I thought about going with.
Yeah.
I would have to know for sure Cam
Jesus,
Rising
man.
was ready to go.
When you're putting
by
them
the
all
time.
together here like this,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
know. I mean,
the
there's
whole
some good teams.
the whole thing is a
Really
buzzsaw.
good teams, and the two teams out of this group, me and you had mentioned Texas and Tennessee could absolutely be good if things were to fall their way. Let's move to 16 through 20 here. I know what your answer is going to be.
Mhm.
So won't you go ahead and tell me out of a group of Northwestern, North Carolina, TCU, Oregon State, and Wisconsin, why is Northwestern the answer, Hitch?
Because
I mean, it's got to be Kansas State.
yeah.
But anyway.
Say this 5 teams again.
Leaving Northwestern out of
Uh-uh.
it. It's okay. Northwestern, North Carolina, TCU, Oregon State, and Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, Oregon State
I'm-
and Wisconsin. Those two.
Wisconsin is, I think, the biggest lottery ticket here. Again, and look, we know plenty about Phil Longo from his time here in Oxford, right?
And he can score.
That's the thing. We can make fun of him all we want to, but there is obviously a lot of scoring in his offenses. Pulled up another window here. It's absolutely Kansas State instead of Northwestern. So Locked On's credibility is now firmly back in place.
Here we go. All right,
Because I was definitely questioning it there for a little bit. So yeah, Kansas State at 16, and since we haven't mentioned them yet, I think it's a really, really good program. This is one of those where I think the word culture comes into play because you see it year after year with them. This guy's done an incredible job for them. Obviously you had Bill Snyder there for years in 2 different stints. But they do have a culture there of kids buying in, doing things the right way, the way they want them done. And look, man, they were a lot of fun to watch last year. Now
a lot of that fun is gone.
Yeah, that's
Right.
that's
Deuce
thing
Vaughn.
there. Yeah, I say Deuce Vaughn's not there anymore. God, that kid was so much fun to run the ball, man. So much fun to watch. So yeah, Kansas State there at 16 though, so it makes a lot more sense. Whoever this publication is posted the other poll. Y'all can shut down.
Locked off sports.
Yeah, lock it. Look at you, you nailed it, man. All right, but I will go back 16 through 20. I will agree with you. If I had to pick a team here, it's Wisconsin because I think they have the highest ceiling, especially if they were able to retain some of those absolute bruisers they have there.
Yeah.
So,
and I think if we're going the other way really quickly, Oklahoma. I think I could see Oklahoma going the other way because last year it was wild to watch.
It was.
And it looks like a lot of personnel issues and stuff that's very difficult to correct. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, all right, 21 through 25, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Iowa, Texas A&M. Why is Ole Miss the answer to pick out of this group to go win a national championship?
Because they're absolutely the best team in the country.
No doubt about it, right? All right, so for real, 5 teams here. We'll even take Ole Miss out of this. Is there anybody you think that can make that jump? I know who I would pick out of the remaining 4 to make a jump to possibly push top 10 or so.
Yeah, say them one more time before.
Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Iowa, Texas A&M.
I think this is like the first group where I'm like, okay, maybe somebody in this group has a chance to jump into the top 15.
Yeah.
Maybe the top 10. Iowa is interesting.
Interesting if they can figure
if they
it
can
out
still
on
play
offense.
defense, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're going to play defense. You know they're going to do that.
I hate them. I hate watching them, but this is just like I said. Oklahoma could go the other way. Maybe my pick here is Oklahoma because there is so much upside with Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah,
he's exciting to watch, and we know that Levy can call.
he can. Here, mine's A&M just because of the talent level. They brought in so
I
much
thought you were going to
talent.
say that. That's why I didn't
Yeah,
say it.
yeah. There's talent on both sides of the ball. If Jimbo Fisher can truly hand the reins over to Bobby Petrino, he's one of the best play callers in the entire country. Saw what he's done at Missouri State for the last few years. Went into Fayetteville and gave them all they could handle last year. Obviously, a really good ball coach, a really good play caller.
I hate it.
That there were two hires in the SEC I hated more than anything in the world last year, and it was Bobby Petrino, offensive coordinator, Texas A&M, and Hugh Freeze to Auburn. But Hugh Freeze is going to be hell on wheels in Auburn at some point. He's going to recruit there. He's going to win. It's just a matter of time. May not be this year, but you can bet it's coming. So my pick there would be Texas A&M. So that's the look at the Locked On Sports Top 25 preseason poll. I'm super relieved to find out that Northwestern wasn't actually in it, and that it was Kansas State. So that made me feel a little bit better. So kind of like I mentioned at the top of the show, me and Hitch decided we were going to watch the Johnny Manziel story on Netflix today, and kind of talk about what we thought about it there. It was very interesting,
I'll tell you what,
to say the least.
It was it's the Untold series. Johnny Football, maybe is what it's called.
Yeah, I think that's right.
People had talked about it. Even we had talked about it in like text messages with a bunch of friends and stuff. And I didn't care anything about watching it. Like, I don't know, whatever. I'll watch it eventually.
I really didn't either until everybody started talking about it so much.
I'll tell you, I may watch it again. Like it's so
really
good, and I don't even mean like it's so like heartwarming and inspiring. Like,
oh no, that's the last thing it is. It's heartwarming and inspiring.
It's good and it's exactly the way that you think it is.
Yeah, I'll buy that. Obviously, Johnny had some troubles. You're not going to hear me say a single bad word about Johnny Manziel. First of all, I thought he was so much fun to watch. Watched him in Oxford, obviously, his freshman year. And if you notice, if you watch this documentary, not a whole lot of highlights from his freshman year in Oxford. Because there was a freshman defensive back that played for Ole Miss that year, Mike Hilton. He spied him the entire game. That was one of the first times I looked at Mike Hilton and thought, this guy's going to be an absolute stud for us. But he, now if I remember right, he made one mistake into the game. I think they ended up beating us by 6, either 3 or 6 points. 6. We were up by 1.
Was that the year that he had the crazy 4th down conversion?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Mike Hilton was spying him, and he scrambled out of the pocket. And instead of sitting back, Mike decided to rush him and go at him, you know. And when he did, Manziel was able to sidestep him. Nobody there. And he Manziel was what happened there. Go down, score a touchdown. And
it was unbelievable to watch.
But he was incredible.
He's one of those generational guys that you hear about, like, and we've been lucky enough to catch a few of them.
Yeah. I mean, we've had him,
Jackson, Reggie Bush. We had 2 of them in 1 year, right? Mm-hmm. Reggie Bush was a bit young.
Yep, that's right.
And then
man, how much fun was that game? Because
well, he references.
Yeah. I was about to say they reference it.
I'm pointing at the TV.
It's not on anymore.
But I had forgotten how much fun he was. And man, I'm a little different. I wasn't crazy about him at the time watching him play. But also I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to his antics. What he did on the field. Mm-hmm. But after watching this, I might be ride or die Johnny Manziel. I don't know. Yeah, because I am very, me.
Yeah.
And man, if you chirp and you back it up, like, I'm your guy.
Yeah. You were the biggest TJ McCants fan until the day you die off of one swing against Maryland. Yeah. That's it, right? But obviously Manziel had all of this talent and everything. Won the Heisman as a freshman. A lot of notoriety came with that. Started flying around, going to parties.
Did what 18, 19.
I was about to say, man, if you make me the best player in the country, and I've also got people paying me $30,000 per autograph session, I ain't gonna sit here and tell you that I'd have done it any different. You know,
here's what I thought. If it had been me, or Kevin Sumlin is lucky that it wasn't me, right? Because there ain't no way that I would have been able to not talk to the media as a freshman when I was performing like that.
Yeah.
We've been having press conferences in my dorm room.
Yeah, dude, I would have caught me an ESPN reporter on that field in Tuscaloosa that night. You know, they usually come to you and say, hey, so-and-so wants to talk to you. No, I want you to go find somebody.
That's something that really stood out to me as I didn't remember that. But when I think about it, it's like, no, he really didn't. All you saw was, him doing what he did on the field. And, man, there is not a chance. But they kept saying it. Kevin Sumlin wouldn't let freshmen talk to press. And I was thinking, every time I was thinking, I was telling everybody.
Because somebody would have heard from me.
Did y'all see what I just did?
Yeah. So if y'all hadn't seen it, go out and watch it. I think it's a really good watch. We both had a good time watching it. We were both two people that didn't have a whole lot of interest in it until people started talking about it, and I just kind of come up with it today that I'd watch it.
And there are so many things in it that made me go, what? Like, oh wow!
His $5 million bender in Vegas that weekend.
Bender in Vegas, and so just a quick story from it, because I want you to go see it.
Yeah.
But at his pro day in Cleveland.
Oh God!
Right? They laid out all night. The whole thing is about him, how he played good hungover. Apparently he's Superman hungover.
Ask Mississippi State.
Yeah, but at his pro day, all of his receivers were drunk and hungover, couldn't come out. The Cleveland guys come in, and they go, "Where are your receivers?" And he goes, "We're good."
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. And then there's a guy that comes on an interview, and he goes, "I called Johnny after the pro day and said, how'd it go?" Johnny said, "I effing killed it."
Yeah.
You did what? With your agent and your lawyer?
And your lawyer is your two receivers.
That's what I meant with it, or that's what I meant by it's great exactly the way that you want it to be. It's just stories like that.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is so much fun. So y'all go check it out. It's a really good watch. And I think next week when me and Hitch get back together, I think we're going to start diving into week 0 games, if I'm not mistaken. That's something we talked about a little bit today. So that's something we're going to start looking at. College football season is quickly approaching us here. And, I for one can't wait. I know Hitch is the same way. And we're going to start diving into all these games. And
it'll be fun for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be bad for 2 weeks. That's when we're going to really get on a roll, though, right? Once we see what's going on. So, but we'll look forward into diving into these games. I think me and him are still going to try to figure out kind of a bit of a gambling competition of some kind, a way to keep up with, if we make so many picks a week or whatever.
They can gamble on who wins between us.
Oh yeah, there we go. Got to come up with odds with that. So, if Mr. Vada is out there listening or anything, if you want to come up with some odds for us here, then DraftKings, anybody, we'd be more than willing to accommodate you there. So, but I appreciate y'all tuning in. Please tune in again next week. Like I said, we'll actually be talking about actual football games that will be getting played before you hear us again after that. So, really look forward to it. Hitch, appreciate you coming out and doing this again with me. You've been here every week with me, and look forward to doing it every week throughout football season, having a great football season, and you being here along for the ride with me as the Rebels go undefeated and into a national championship.
I quit my job today.
To
do this full time.
Yeah. Okay.
Just this show, though.
Oh yeah. Well obviously, it's all you need. So.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, I haven't been home yet. I haven't explained it to Blake.
Well, she knows now. Avid listener, right?
No, she doesn't. This would be a secret for another 50 years if it was relying on her listening to this.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all. Well, I appreciate y'all tuning in with us again. Be sure to tune in next week. Make sure to subscribe to the SEC After Dark YouTube channel, and like and comment on this video. If there's anything y'all want us to touch on, just leave a comment below and we'll get to it. And we'll see y'all again next week. Hitch, appreciate you stopping by, buddy.
Yep.
Hi, Toddy.